Welcome and thank you for watching the Here We Go podcast. I am Trent Ging. Today I'm going to talk about we got a preseason game tomorrow. I'm also going to touch very briefly on the Brandon Ayuk thing. This is definitely something that's going to continue to drag out. So I'm actually going to start with Ayuk, and then I'm going to go into what I'm hoping to see in the preseason game and kind of set the table for what I'm looking for and what I'm hoping to see happen as we edge closer to week one of the regular season. So the Brandon Ayuk thing, all the reports where this thing's at the finish line, it's going to be done. It's going to be done today. It's going to be done tomorrow. It's going to be done. Blah, blah, whatever. We're 3 days into this thing was done. It is far from done. And I can tell you, the reason you know it's far from done is based on the reporting. There are so many different packages being talked about right now from people who have sources. And I'm not talking about random people with the dog emoji or the avatars or whatever. I'm talking about, guys like Alan Saunders, who's got sources inside the organization. Gary Dulac, who has been a longtime Steelers insider. Mark Cabali. Like, when you start hearing guys talking about different packages, and they're so vastly different. Some guys reporting there are going to be players plus picks. Dulac coming out saying there are no players being involved in this trade right now. I don't think the two sides are as close together as everybody feels they are. Which brings into question, even from San Francisco's media side, I should touch on that too. I've seen some San Francisco reporters and insiders talking about the same things. You got one guy saying that, they're going to look to package a player that they want in return with a pick. Another guy saying he doesn't think they're going to get more than 2 second-round picks in 25 and 26. And the guy, listen, this thing is a little further apart than we realize. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think the longer this goes on, the more it favors the Steelers. Let me explain why. Number one, it means Omar Khan is not making a decision out of desperation and overpaying for a player. He's being cautious. He's trying to get the guy that they want, but he's going to get him at his price. Make no mistake, regardless of where the negotiations are going right now, Omar Khan has a price in his head that he's willing to go to. Maybe it's a second-round pick. Maybe he's willing to throw in a first-round pick. Maybe if it's a player, they're willing to do a player plus a certain level of pick. I mean, I don't know, obviously, but he's got a price in his head of what's acceptable to make this thing work. Now, I think that as fans, of course, we want this thing done, right? Like, we want to bring a guy like Brandon Ayuk into our organization. We want to pair him up with George Pickens. We want to see what this team is capable of with 2 stud wide receivers to go along with a really nice stable of running backs, to be honest, to see what Pat Freiermuth can evolve into with better quarterback play, to see what we have in these quarterbacks. All of these things can be true, but I caution you as fans that the longer this goes on, I think the better it is for the Steelers. Either San Francisco is willing to trade him or they're not. This could all be smoke and mirrors to show Ayuk that maybe people aren't willing to pay what he wants. That doesn't seem to be the case because I think New England was willing to pay. I saw one report it was up to $32 million. I don't know what the guarantees were. But this seems to be a similar situation to what Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson. The difference, I think, is that the Ravens truly never had intentions of letting Jackson go. the 49ers seem to be moving the needle towards a trade. I don't think this thing's like a 75% chance they're likely to trade him because they could still re-sign him. Maybe they're just trying to gauge what the market is for Ayuk. Maybe they feel like their asking price is a little low and they're willing to see what teams are able to pay and willing to pay for his services. I think this thing's more on the lines of 60-40. They're willing to trade him, and they're probably going to trade him. But I don't think it's as far as a stretch as what others lead it to be, because we saw a lot of the same stuff going on with Debo. It seemed pretty fractured at the time when Debo was holding in. The same as what it seems to be with Ayuk, maybe a little worse on the Ayuk situation. But I think it's just because Ayuk's pushing the needle harder. But if San Francisco is not going to get a worthwhile trade, they're not going to make it. The other reason this thing could be being held up from reporting that I've seen is that maybe they need a third team. If Pittsburgh's only going to offer picks, you can't let Brandon Ayuk walk and just get picks back. If you're San Francisco, you have a Super Bowl window right now. You need another guy who's a playmaker in this offense to ensure you're giving yourself an opportunity to get back to the Super Bowl and hopefully win one. So the other piece of this puzzle is trying to figure out and estimate what they're getting back in picks so they can package it to a third team to trade for a wide receiver. So this thing could be dragging out also because they need to get a third team involved and have agreements on the table with everyone, both Ayuk and his agent, the Steelers, the 49ers, and a third team. Who that third team may be, who knows? Maybe they're making a run at like a Devontae Adams who wants out of town. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Just throwing that out there as a name. I'm not sure that's a reality, but he's a guy who's been on a lot of lists as being likely to be traded by the deadline. Why not go after him now if you're San Francisco? If you're in a win now mode, he's definitely a guy who can help you win now. So, listen, don't get worked up by the reports. Don't listen to the Andrew Filipponis of the world who just throw crap out there with no real sources just to get likes and clicks and engagement so he can make money. Listen to the people who are doing their due diligence and reporting fair and accurately. Still think it's very possible we end up with Ayuk. I want it at the right price. I don't know if we get him at the right price for what I'm hoping for, but I don't want to give up something that's going to cost our team this season. Although that's very hard to do when you're talking about a player of his caliber. Moving forward into preseason. So we have actual live football coming tomorrow. We get to watch our men in the black and gold lace them up and go hit somebody not wearing their same colors for once. I know a lot of people don't get excited over preseason football. You don't get to see the starters a lot, but we are going to see a lot of the Houston starters, and we're going to see a chunk of the Steelers starters. A lot of the guys sitting out are on defense, so I don't think we have many questions on defense, but we do have questions on the depth side of the defense. So I'm loving this matchup right now. I love the matchup because you got Houston going in their second preseason game. They're going to play their starters. We get to see what some of these depth guys are doing. So, like guys like Cam Hayward that are sitting out, DeMarvin Leal is going to likely start his place. You're going to get to see, is this camp buzz about him just about camp buzz? Or is he really starting to bring something to the table now? Is he a viable option as a backup piece? Is he a viable option to replace Cam next year if Cam does walk. That's going to be something that's very exciting to watch. I'm really excited to see some of this stuff play out. I'm excited to see, what do we have? I'm sure, I don't think that I saw, I think it was just Minkah Fitzpatrick from the safety room that's going to be sitting outside. I imagine you're going to see KZ and Elliott. I could be wrong on that because I may have missed somebody. I think there were 7 guys that were sitting out from what I've seen so far. I know Minkah Fitzpatrick was one of them, which means you also will see some Ryan Watts in this game. His name is starting to pop up a little bit more in camp. Could be just simply because he's a rookie and people like to talk about the rookies. But let's see him play. He's going to be playing probably second-string guys maybe with Minkah sitting out. So be interesting to see once he gets on the field what he looks like. Does he look like a guy who might make this 53-man roster? Outside of Cam Hayward and Larry O, who else on that defensive line not named DeMarvin Leal is going to step up? I don't know if Dean Lowry will be playing in this game. Does Isaiah Loudermilk start to look better than what he's looked in years past? Do you see Logan Lee maybe step up? They seem to be moving him over a lot of different places right now and trying to find a fit for him. He's an undersized guy. Let's see him in live action football, see what he brings to the table. On the offensive side of the ball, outside of Isaac Seumalo, pretty much everybody's playing, it seems like. Let's see what this Arthur Smith offense looks like. Let's see what Justin Fields looks like in a situation that is not camp football. Is he truly making strides? Are these just highlight videos that we get to see as fans? This game's going to be really telling for him. This is his first real live look at can he be a future option for the Steelers? Or are we getting a lot of smoke and mirrors because it's camp? Really, really excited to see what Justin's going to bring to the table. I think they're playing 2 series right now is the game plan. So hopefully we can see him administer some drives to get a little bit of a look. He goes 2, 3 and outs, so that's not going to tell us a lot. But if the offense can move the football a little bit and we get to see a live look at what Justin Fields brings to the table now, that's going to go a long way for us as fans to understand what are the long-term plans for the Steelers. We're still not going to see Russell Wilson. We're going to have to wait at least another week for that. But at least we can get a live look at what Justin Fields can bring to the table. The tight end room. You know what? This is our first live look at Pat Freiermuth in a different type of a role. More of a role that I think people saw him in coming out of college as a receiving tight end. How much does the lack of athleticism affect him in a live setting? Or is he a guy who can figure out how to get open and make plays and become a playmaker for this offense? That's something I'm excited to see. My man, Beanie Bishop. Listen, I'm going to ride on the Beanie Bishop bandwagon all season long. I want to see Beanie in coverage. Houston's got a nice stable of receivers. This is going to be a nice test for an undrafted free agent who slotted into the starting position. I'm not sure I remember a time when we've had an undrafted free agent as a starter right away. I think it's been a while. So very excited for Beanie Bishop. I love the talk that I'm hearing coming out of camp from him. I want to see him put some good tape out there in this preseason game. I'm just really excited for him. I'm becoming a huge fan of Beanie Bishop, and I cannot wait to see him in his first live action. Corey Trice, a guy who he's got to be dying to get on the field right now because of the injury that he had last year and sitting all season and, didn't make it into padded practices, let alone a preseason game. So he's actually getting his first true experience as an NFL player tomorrow night. Very excited to see that. We'll see if he's going to be really limited or if they kind of let him play a little bit in this game because I don't think he's fully working in right now. in practices, even though he's practicing. I'm just not sure they're really giving him a full workload right now from what I've seen. So I'm really excited for him. Excited to see if he starts building back to that form that we heard coming out of camp before his injury last year. Does Darius Rush take some strides? Peyton Wilson, I'm so excited for Peyton Wilson. I mean, just an ultra athletic guy that is going to be flying around the football. He's listed as the third linebacker on the depth chart. He's a guy that I think all of us as fans have high expectations for. I don't think he's in Defensive Rookie of the Year running like some people are throwing out there. I think that's an overstatement because I think you're just going to see a lot of the Landon Roberts and Patrick Queen. I don't think it's going to be of any fault of Peyton Wilson, but let's see Peyton Wilson in the NFL. Let's see him flying around the field in the NFL. I think that's going to be a lot of excitement right there. What step does Nick Herbig take? So I'm looking for that. And then probably one of the last things that I really hope to see that I'm not overly optimistic on is Darnell Washington becoming any threat in the receiving game. Yeah, they talked about he started to catch some passes here in practice and camp and stuff, but does he actually become any sort of a realistic receiving threat, or is he just going to be there as an extra offensive lineman? That's a part I'm hoping we get to see a little bit of. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see a ton out of that kick return or the kickoff play. Nobody's going to be running anything exotic or pulling any tricks out of their hat yet. So you're probably just going to see, kind of like a traditional return style type thing. Probably two guys back, and whoever gets the ball is going to take it off and find whatever seam they can find. That's kind of what we saw in the Hall of Fame game. But really excited that we're getting back into football now. Really excited to see some of these young guys develop and evolve. I didn't see who's going to start at guard. I think Mason McCormick was actually getting the nod to start at guard. So we're going to get to see him in more of a live first team action. So it'll be real interesting to see with James Daniels' names being floated around in this potential Ayuk trade. Can McCormick even hold his own right now? Is he ready? Or is our only option if Daniels were to be traded away Herbig? Maybe it is Herbig. I don't know. So Broderick Jones going to be switching back and forth from left to right side. Fautanu is going to be getting a lot of right tackle reps. We'll get to see them. We'll get to see Zach Frazier. So outside of Roman Wilson, we're probably going to see our entire draft class playing from the last two seasons, which is going to be real nice to see how this whole thing plays out and Omar Khan's first two drafts start to look on tape. So I'm really excited for this. Excited to see where we find deficiencies. I think this is going to go a long way to telling us if we could be a Super Bowl caliber team if we traded for Brandon Ayuk or not. I'm still in the crowd of, even if we get Ayuk, we're not a Super Bowl caliber team. But this is going to go a long way to telling us exactly what we're going to look like. Because Houston's a good team. They're going to be a good team this year. And they've got a nice young defensive front. We've got a young offensive line. How does that young offensive line adapt and protect against this defensive front? That's going to be something to watch. So a lot of my focus is going to be on the trenches because of the unknowns on depth. There's so many people really high on our defensive line depth. I'm just not. It's going to be interesting to see how that part plays out, and I'm really going to be watching that. And then the offensive line, of course, when you're looking at probably starting two rookies, you have to be paying attention to the offensive line in this game. I just think you have to be focused on that to see what we got and how far away these guys are to being ready to gel and start to work toward being good offensive line right now. So ready for that. Ready for football to be back. Really excited. So I hope you all get to watch the game tomorrow night. I hope you all get to interact and give me some feedback on what your thoughts are, what you think we have. Maybe we have some diamonds in the rough that we don't even know of yet. But I'm excited. So I hope you all like, share, and subscribe to the content. Let me know your thoughts. Hope you all have a great Thursday, and let's look forward to that Friday game.